7, evolution. Roman number 4, a science contrary to evidence. I think we started and then stopped there, correct?
I think that's right.
Yeah, okay. So, Gleb, take us away. Look at 1 Timothy 6:20.
So, 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called.
So there are people who will oppose you with what they call science, but it's only falsely so-called science. So that's always been the battle. Go ahead, do A1, and go ahead and do A.
Yeah. Some scientific laws against any form of evolution. The laws of thermodynamics, heat and energy. The first law says energy and matter can be transformed, changed, and altered, but cannot now be created or destroyed. This law does away with theory B. A universe that accidentally big banged out of nothing is unscientific since matter can't naturally be created. See Nehemiah 9:6.
There you are. It's getting worried.
Yeah, we were there. How are you?
All right.
Yeah. No. She's gone.
She has everything? Okay.
Oh,
I can't bear it.
Nehemiah is before Psalms, before Job. 2 books you need to remember go hand in hand, Ezra and Nehemiah, then Job.
I had trouble too. Is it after Psalms or before Psalms?
I don't know why I thought it's
Yeah.
it's in the where Joel is and all that stuff.
Before Job is the book of Nehemiah.
Oh, so before Esther.
Yes, sorry, I've just skipped Esther.
Oh.
Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job.
No. Wow.
He found it.
Thou, even thou art Lord alone, thou hast made heaven and the heaven of heavens, with all their hosts, the earth and all things that are therein, the seas and all that is therein, and thou preservest them all, and the host of heaven worshipeth thee.
Okay, so some scientific facts are stated in that verse. One is God created everything that there is, okay? And he preserves, which means he keeps everything going. So the law comes along, and the scientific law says there's no new matter or no new energy. It just goes, if you have a log and you burn it, it becomes heat and then dissipates. But you don't create new matter. You don't create new things. You have to start with either matter or energy, and you transfer back and forth. Only in Star Trek can you take something that is just energy, like a transporter, or when they would go to the little hole in the wall and you'd say, Earl Grey, hot, and it would take energy and create matter. Only in a dream can that happen. So, but the law says that everything that is existing now is all there is. There's no new matter being created. Keep going.
It says evolution requires you to believe everything accidentally came from nothing.
And that's a belief. That's all that is. Okay. Declan, B.
The second law states that energy in a closed system will run out. This is called entropy. All forms of energy run down like a watch. For example, things do not grow toward order and cleanliness by accident. Ask any housewife with kids. Nothing is in the process of evolving, that is getting better and more advanced and more powerful, but rather everything which can be seen demonstrates dissipation, disintegration, decay, and degeneration. Nothing is improved unless it is worked on by an outside force. This law is stated in Isaiah 51:6.
I hope you can find Isaiah.
We are glad.
Both of you.
Isaiah 51:6. Lift up your eyes to the heavens and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished.
So when you're looking at stars, or you're looking at mountains, you're looking at dirt, what is the Bible saying that science says?
What does the Bible say that science says?
That everything will vanish, everything will fade away, everything will decay, everything will fall apart, everything dies.
Nothing improves by itself.
Excellent. Okay, I know these are hard things on Sunday morning to get going, but it's a law that people ignore. They believe in the laws of science, but they won't believe them. Good morning. All right, keep going. And does away with.
This law is stated in Isaiah 51:6 and does away with theory A. If the universe had always been here, it would have burned out long ago. Even though matter and energy cannot disappear, energy is always slowing down, never increasing, and never being replaced. An example is the burning of a fire log. The log burns and produces heat energy. That energy is then gone from the log and cannot be produced from the same log anymore.
Okay, so everything's wearing out. Number 2, Bethany.
The law of cause and effect. To every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. For every effect that we see in the universe, there had to be an original cause. Evolution requires that all of order came from chaos, being helped along again accidentally.
Yeah, so everything that it seems to be running orbits of planets, everything being just right, with all of these laws, well, it happened by accident. It all started as a bang. I mean, explosions create chaos. Somebody compared it to going to a junkyard and throwing a stick of dynamite in the junkyard, and out rolls a Lamborghini. It's like, sorry, that doesn't happen.
And dust balls and gas clouds don't
Coalesce.
congeal into spheres and turn into planets and stuff.
They come with a lot of neat sounding words, though. I really like scientific words, like coalesce. It's like really cool, but it doesn't happen. Number 3, the law of Geraldine.
Biogenetics demonstrates that life only comes from life. Every living organism comes only from living organisms. So John 1:24. John 1:1-4. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men.
So in him was life. So if we have life in this universe, it came from him. It came from something that was already alive. Number 4, Bill.
This is Mendel's laws. Gregor Mendel, 1822 to 1914, proved scientifically only genetic characteristics are inherited. Things that are already coded in DNA moleculosology, only things that the parent already had in themselves are passed on to the next generation. Nothing new can be passed on except for mutations, which are 99.9% disastrous to the next generation.
Okay, so does that make sense? Gregor Mendel was a farmer, okay, and he did a lot of research on what we call hybrid manipulation of crops, trying to get bigger ears of corn and stuff. But he found that a plant or an animal that had offspring, the offspring never had anything better than what the parents had. They always ended up, if there were genetic mutations, he said 99.9%, I think it's 99.99%, mutations never created a better offspring. And so now, a DNA for a ear of corn can have a variety of sizes, can have a variety of colors, can have a variety of shapes. I've seen short and fat, long and skinny. I've seen corns that have colors and all that stuff. But every corn ear, every corn stalk, all the DNA to produce all different kinds of corn is in every one of those kernels of corn. It's not like, oh, these have different genetic markers and genetic information than this other corn and it's evolved. No, it's in there. Conditions like temperature bring out different characteristics. Okay, so let's say Gleb marries and his son is bright red hair. And you'll go, where did he get that? Okay, well, it's in your genes. It just has been dormant. Maybe your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother married a Scotsman, 400 years ago. Who knows? But it's in there. It comes from somebody. And Mendel found that out. Yes.
If it is that close, though, why are there so many different races and everything else? We all came from Adam and Eve, and it's 99.
We actually didn't come from Adam and Eve. We came from Noah and his 3 children. So everybody in the world before the flood, and then you got Noah and his 3 children starting over. Yeah, so I'm just being funny with you.
Yeah. Well,
So
anyway, what I'm trying to say is that if it's that close, there is obviously a variation. There must be a little bit.
okay,
more than
very
99.
simply, you've got a place called Mount Ararat. Okay? And on that mountain, you got an ark up there, or a boat, and out goes 3 different families. Okay? Japheth goes northwest. Japheth, if I think am I right spelling right? Japheth goes northwest. He goes into Europe. Ham goes south into Africa. And Shem goes east into Asia. Now, those 3 people groups, over time, they all intermarried and they all congregated based on climate and diets and stuff like this. And things that are, I have every gene that a black man has. I have every gene that an Oriental has. I have all of that. But as they stayed in that area, the dominance of certain genes became stronger.
So it must be more than 99.9%. Like it
What
seems
does?
very close. What I'm trying to say is that there must be more of a variation, surely, to create such a diverse.
No. All you have to do is mix Ham with Shem, and you get a whole new
but
looking.
They all came originally from
But see,
Adam and Eve.
but,
which
see,
came-
but they're not, that's not mutation, is that's information already in a person's genetics. It's already there. It's not a mutation, it's just information that's already there. It's just it's coming out in different groups. It gets pronounced.
I heard something about Adam and Eve, that they had all different kind of genes in them and they were able to pass them on. So it's like they didn't just have,
But if they're-
they didn't look like we do right
All
now.
I'm saying is what it's saying here is that it's 99.9%. I'm not debating, but it just seems strange.
Okay, but you're using 99%.
Yeah.
That applies to what are called mutations. Okay? If you want to know what mutations are, go to India. And you have people with 3 arms.
Genes they were talking
You have people with 3 arms.
Oh, yeah, his
And you actually,
Sorry,
they're.
it was my misunderstanding.
That's okay. That's okay.
It was,
Mutations are 9.9.
Yeah.
Destructive.
Yeah.
Now, my mom wished she had 3 hands, okay, and one of them to slap us with when we were out of control. So, but a mutation, if you did get a mutation, it would usually be deadly. It would actually kill off your race, okay.
But I see you after starting though.
No, this is you got to have answers. So go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, right? Okay, so again, right, going back to Noah and his family, right? Are we accepting that Noah and his family were, we'll say, a sort of a Jewish profile, for example? Not quite fair skin, but not quite dark skin either, right? Possibly dark hair, probably darker eyes, right? So how does that ultimately evolve, for the want of
I know what you mean.
into a nation of dark skin, probably primarily curly hair. I'm just being very stereotypical now here, right? Okay. Versus you look at Shem, where the eyes are, the skin is almost porcelain. It's so white. Wrinkle-free, black hair, so much black hair. The eyes become much smaller, and kind of. So, and then, and then Japhet, like, which would be almost like European location. How does that, how does that happen?
Okay.
Where you have such distinct, like, I know I've been stereotypical, but like, at the same time, distinctively so, like
Okay.
everybody knows what I'm talking about.
So I'm only going to be able to take you so far with this, okay? I have lots of bits and pieces,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
things that I understand are this. Irish look different than English. English look different than French. Actually, French have a longer face. British, North Irish, more blocky. The Irish have a distinctive, because they intermarried among themselves, not cousins and stuff like this sometimes, but they have what are called dominant genes, that the more you marry closer to each other in descendancy, the more a gene that was in your parents and grandparents gets passed on, and you take on characteristics of each other. So let's take Japheth and let's take Shem. Shem continues to move from Asia all the way over to the Americas.
All right, okay.
Okay, these are Americas. Okay,
Yeah.
so as they go, characteristics of them go with them. They don't go back home and marry and then come back here and continue. They become they limit the information. It's a complicated thing of the more you box somebody in so they can only marry somebody that could be their distant cousin or whatever, the more you limit people being able to intermarry with races, the more the characteristics take on of that group.
Right.
Okay.
More
So
refined.
all over the world you got, so the Americas, these people go up and they're the Inuit.
Yeah.
Indians, okay? You got people, the Aztecs.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how those people got over there. But these are characteristics
Yeah.
that are different than these guys
Yeah.
because they've never met each other.
Right.
When they do, all of a sudden you get crazy, unique characteristics, sometimes very beautiful, okay?
Yeah.
So it's the fact that these people all just were together and they intermarried, and they these guys weren't going and meeting up with Shem. It was Japheth who was going all over the world and was conquering the rest of the world, okay, and intermarrying. So you get the Spaniards going to South America and conquered all of South America, Portugal. And so they intermarried, and now what used to be Mayan and Aztec is now all Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay, complicated. But I just want to give you a taste of the more you box people in and you say, all right, all of you can only intermarry between yourselves, all of a sudden the characteristics of that people group become dominant. You go, oh, those are the Irish. Because they just stayed there. They never left the island, okay?
Yeah.
So then you have the foreigners coming in, and then all of a sudden, all the things, there's no, the rules are all open-ended, okay? So it makes sense? Starting to.
It's starting to. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a
like-
huge study. And in the early 1900s, there was tremendous, late 1800s and early 1900s, there was tremendous. Mendel started something, and it wasn't until they found out about genetics. All of a sudden, Ancestry.com can tell you, oh, you have so much percentage of, I don't know, man. You might have Jewish blood. You could have Genghis Khan. You could have in his background. But why are they able to do that? Because they can tell people groups, and they find dominant genes of that people group, and look, well, you have it in there. It's not dominant,
Yeah.
but it's in you.
Because to me, that's like everyday challenge to the biblical truth of the starting with Adam and Eve, the filtering through Noah. Like every day you have just like whatever you do or you don't understand about creation and evolution, but it's like, sure, look, just look around you, look at the sheer variety of physical profile. How could that all have just started with Adam and Eve?
Yeah, but that's what, I forget what it's called, but that science that does now genetics has just gone back, and they'd go back. Now sometimes they do a lot of guesswork, because it's very complicated.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you only need, I don't know, 50 generations, I'm guessing the number. And you end up with just 2 to get all the varieties that you get now. A normal person just sitting there listening to the gospel, if they've watched a David Attenborough, he'll talk about all the variations, but he can only use the word variation because there is variation in this group. There's variation in the Sem. By the way, guess which one of these the Jews come from?
Go on.
Anybody know?
Is it Jacob?
Jacob, are you kidding? Not at all.
Shem.
Shem. From Shem came Israel, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Shem is the son through Noah and his son Shem, all the way down to Israel, all the way down to Jesus. Okay, so when we talk about anti-Semitics, anti-Shem, we're talking about a people group that's been persecuted simply because of that group, okay? Now, Shemite, guess who else is Shemite? That's Ishmael, okay? Those are now the Muslims, okay? They're in that same people group. And these 2 siblings do not get along, okay? But they're in that people group, okay? So, now Ishmael did a lot of intermarrying with Africa. And that's where they got their power from. And that's why they own half of Africa and they fight for it. But Ishmael originally started from Abraham. All right? So, I think it's very fascinating. I think it is just, it's just a great study. And there are a lot of Bible-believing scientists who've written tremendous books on this, and they just go right over my head. But it's really cool. It's really cool. Okay? Just the fact that inside Bill are all the variations that God built in. Now, let's do this.
They've been more perfect than
They've been perfected the entire time. All right, so as history goes along, here's Adam and Eve, okay? And Adam and Eve, holding hands, they had the widest variety in their genes of, they could have blonde, blue-eyed, red hair, black hair, straight hair, no hair, everything. Now we're 6,000 years later, and there's less variety. There is less. As a matter of fact, never mind. So we have genes that we can pass on, but our children do not develop new genes or new abilities to now, all of a sudden they're born with a bicycle instead of feet. It doesn't happen like that, okay? So I think this is very important. Most people have never contemplated this.
Yes, I think it's actually very, very important because, the number of it's almost an Irish thing. I think because, it's not exclusive. So what am I saying? But I mean, because I think of Irish history, Irish famine, whatever, right, and the sheer level of immigration from this country across the world. And we're always fascinated by where the Irish got to,
yes.
And it's kind of funny because my boss, he's Chinese, but he's like a 6-foot rugby player, and and the first reaction a lot of Irish people have is, but is there not Irish in you? It's like almost somebody in your genes went to, and that's just every day on the meeting, there has to be Irish in that fella somewhere, and it's because of the
build. That's cool.
It's because he comes from the northern side of China, where there's more influence from Mongolia, so the body
Genghis
build
Khan
is bigger and stronger, whatever. But it's amazing how that reaction is this has to be Irish in him somewhere, It's like
somebody linked to living with Goliath or something.
Anyway, no, I'm just saying it's sort of one of those.
But you can always tell.
visuals.
You can always tell a child that has 2 Irish parents.
Yeah.
They look Irish. Okay, but you have French and Irish or German and Irish. I always wonder how they get along, and their kids are different. They're different looking.
Yeah.
And that is what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with new features. We're just dealing with the mixture of features, and they play just a whole different. But it's built in. That's what we're going to focus on. And I want to try to understand here from Mendel's laws. Back to you, Gleb B.
Variations are built into the DNA code of an organism. This allows for variations in a specific kind of animal. Example, a dog's genes have many variations already built in. Doberman, Terrier, Greyhound, just as a cat's genes have many variations, etc.
All bad. And C, Declan.
Variations outside of the limits of the genetic code do not occur. The variations do not include the ability for offspring to turn into anything but what the parent was. That is, a cat always produces a cat,
Unfortunately.
or a cat dog, or a butterfly, or a frog, etc.
Okay, so that just makes sense, doesn't it? Okay.
No new characteristics appear in any species. It would be like trying to play keys on a piano that aren't there, except by mutation, which always means a degradation of the offspring's quality of life, which is opposite of the evolutionary theory.
And I've used the illustration with biochemist of a piano. I says a gene, coding of a gene is like a piano. You can make tremendous Rachmaninoff, Bach, Beethoven, musical creations on 88 keys. But if you try to play the keys out here that don't exist, you can't do that. You can only play with what you've got. And so every time you have offspring, you're producing something from the 88 keys. Now I never hear, unless it's a horror movie or whatever, down at the bottom of the keyboard, okay? And those keys aren't used very often, but they're there. And there are characteristics of people that by mixing two different groups or whatever, all of a sudden, the bottom keys are played and you get a certain person looking the way they do. Does that make sense? But you're never playing outside of the keyboard. All right.
And it's just one small point. It's just the variations outside of the limits. It's interesting how you have a hybrid of a lion and a tiger, but they're degrading in their health, like they're not healthy.
A ligger.
Yeah, and you see them; they're never healthy, and they're really big, but they're not strong.
And they don't reproduce. They're sterile usually.
It's the same way with horses, isn't it? Like when you have a hybrid of
Mules.
yeah.
There's the donkey, and you mate it with something else, and their offspring are sometimes stronger. They go farther, but they are sterile. They can't produce anymore. They just die.
That's interesting. Yeah.
After when they die, they can't produce. So yeah, you're playing with genes and things, and you're trying to modify, and then you find out, well, this didn't work because that's the end of the line. Okay, number E. Is that you, Geraldine?
All mutations are proven to be destructive to the offspring because they are degenerative and not evolutionary. The next generation always becomes sterile.
See, you think like me, all right? But this is, look, what I'm writing is what I've discovered logically. Everybody comes to the same conclusions. I'm not writing anything new. You're like, that's what I thought. That's because that's how the logic works. It's true. All right, Bill, B and 1.
Some scientific laws proving evolution, none. Evolution requires that there will exist some natural force that's guiding everything towards higher and higher levels of complexity.
Go ahead, 2.
This law would be called the law of increasing organization. 3, this law does not exist.
It doesn't exist. The law of increasing organization does not exist. So the chart on the left shows that from order, everything is decreasing. You'll start perfect, which our world did, and we're currently in decline because of fixed laws that show order ends up in chaos. But into the evolutionary fairy tale, everything starts off raw. And we're all currently on an incline, getting better and better, all because of random occurrences. And it's a fairy tale. It doesn't exist. It never has been observed. And they dream up ways to believe that we're in a world because of the law of increasing organization. And guess what? No science book has that in their list of laws because it doesn't exist. All right, Gleb.
Order out of chaos. Could you believe that a delicate and beautiful Swiss watch could come from an explosion in a steel mill, or that a dictionary could come from an explosion in a print shop, then how could a rational person believe that all the beauties and perfection of nature result from an explosion of hot gases back at the Big Bang? Only if you are told again and again that it must have happened.
Yes. That's called propaganda. When you just keep repeating a lie and people start believing it. D.
Find the fossil evidence. The theory of evolution contends that life appeared spontaneously on the Earth, and that over millions of years, life forms changed and became more complex. Man is assumed to be the product of this process. Fossils, the remains of dead plants and animals, have supposedly left a record of the organisms that once populated the Earth.
Okay. So what is a fossil?
Fossil is just the remains of something that died and got buried, and usually without oxygen, and just maybe turned into stone, or got preserved in some way. And
But it has to be a quick death, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, there are all kinds of things. I'm just curious, when people talk about fossils, they rarely know what a fossil is, and I'm not saying you don't, I'm just saying a fossil is the clear, sterile definition of fossil is it's what's left after a living organism has been under pressure preserved in shape, but not in form, which means this: all you have left is all of the imprint is there of what was there, the bones, the beak or whatever, but the beak's gone, the bones are gone. It's all stone, but it still has the shape. That's what a fossil is, until they actually are pressed, and then you find out they found dinosaur bones, and they shouldn't be there. They should all be just stone.
yeah.
They find bones, they open up the bones, and there's still marrow in there that has DNA in it that should not exist if it's 65 million years old. It should have all become stone.
They found some tissue as well recently.
That's right.
And it's just, it shows that
It can't
it
be.
can't be millions of years. Yeah.
So fossils used to be thought of as all just rocks. I mean, when I was a kid, we had something called silly putty. Do you know what silly putty is? Silly putty, we used it. You could take it on newspaper, or you could make a copy of the comic or the headline or whatever, and then you could press it on something, and when you pulled it off, like plasticine clay, you put it on something and you pull it off and it have the shape of the object, okay? So far so good, but fossils are much more than that, because the stone has replaced all of the bones and everything, and it shouldn't still have the bone. It shouldn't still have the tissue. It shouldn't have the marrow inside the bone. So when people talk about fossils, they have no idea what they're talking about, and they do not want to admit that they've got all these unexplained fossils that are supposed to be 65 million years old, and they can't be more than 10,000.
I've seen photographs of where they have found these giants, and seemingly they come along and take them away. The Smithsonian Society is supposed to be involved, and they're hid. They're not allowed to be shown to anyone.
It's a crazy thing. Science is very protective of what they believe. So let's keep going. Number E, Bethany, right?
Modern research has shown that in recorded history, species are constantly moving toward extinction. Every day, more than 50 species become extinct. If evolution were true, one would expect to see the process providing examples of emergent species in their transitional forms. The question arises, where are the emerging species in their transitional forms? The fossil record shows no transitional forms, only fully developed creatures in all strata.
Yeah. So when people talk about fossils, they talk about strata, and you've got fish down here. If I can make a fish, I don't know. You've got all kinds of animals. I'm not even going to try, but you've got all kinds of things at different levels. What's funny is you have no early form of a monkey here, and then a better monkey here, and a better monkey here, and then a modern monkey here, called a human. You don't have that, okay? It doesn't work that way, but that's what they teach has happened. So we keep going. F.
Life is not simple. No matter where you look, there is infinite complexity to this universe.
Stop right there. Say that again, and I want you to let that hit you, because I'm going to show you something in just a second. Say it again.
So life is not simple. No matter where you look, there is infinite complexity to this universe. evolutionists hope that the universe is very simple and just grows upon simple building blocks. Those simple building blocks just do not exist.
So all of matter is composed of what? If I said scientifically, if I was teaching a science class, all of matter is made up of
Atoms.
atoms. Thank you very much. Okay, so not so hard. So atoms goes back to the Greeks. They said the smallest particle there exists is an atom. All right, all of atoms are made up of.
Electrons or protons.
Good. So we've got electrons. I know you're all scared. Electrons, protons, and neutrons. All right. What is funny is this: electrons. Nobody understands. Absolutely nobody. It's a wave and it's a particle. They're all over the map trying to understand electrons. We're not going to try there. But did you know when you open up a proton, inside there are a bunch of things, you wouldn't believe it, okay? There are things inside of a proton, they're called gluons and muons and quarks. And they can't explain it. I'm not going to try to explain whatever. These things are the most powerful things that exist. When they try to take, when they through these accelerators, when they mess with a quark and they try to separate two quarks that are intertwined, there's lots of these quarks inside of this thing. When they try to break it apart, they get a huge explosion. These things are so tiny and yet so strong. They're held together by something called the strong force. They can't separate them. When they do separate them, they end up with four. It's like, how'd that happen? You have two and then they become four. This stuff inside of there, when you start to going, here's my sandwich, okay? And my sandwich is made up of a lot of atoms. My atoms are made up of three basic things, protons, neutrons, electrons. Inside just a proton are gluons, muons, and quarks. I'm telling you, this universe is absolutely mind-boggling. Now, if we went the other way, my sandwich sitting on a planet circling around a sun that's inside a galaxy that has 100 billion stars in it, in a universe with 100 billion galaxies that we know of. Tell me our God's not great. So when I come to science, I don't go, oh, there's no God. No, I go, there's an awesome God. It's how you decide to look at the evidence. It's not, the evidence doesn't convince me there's no God. It convinces me he is infinite and awesome. Okay? Let's keep going here. Conclusion. Yes.
We then are left with theory C and D. Either you believe Genesis 1:1 or lose your mind. Modern scientists simply ignore these facts and pretend they don't exist.
Do you remember what the theories were, C and D? C says nothing exists. Okay.
Yeah.
Or D says everything was created and now is wearing down. Okay.
All right.
Or it's opposite. Sorry, C is everything's created. No, I'm sorry. D is correct. If they, most of the scientists, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So they reject theory D, pretending that since it is religious and not scientific, that is not true.
So why don't scientists believe in creation? Because they found it in a Bible. Mm-hmm. That's why.
Yeah.
And that's religious. All right. But if it's right, why would you fight it? All right. Let's do a little bit more. Number 5.
It's almost the more that they kind of explore science, though, that it opens one's mind to actually realizing how amazing God actually is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it depends on how you hear the science then as well, you know? That,
There's the spiritual warfare, as I presume, that's going on, that's making these guys look that way as well.
Yes. At Oxford University, John Lennox is a tremendous, he's retired now, but he is at the head of the math department. He governs all the math that is taught at Oxford. He's a born-again Christian, okay? He believes the Bible, but he stops at Genesis and he says, maybe God didn't really mean he created in 6 days, but I believe he created it. So sometimes it's hard to go all the way and believe it all. But John Lennox debates Richard Dawkins. He sits down and he's one of the most gentle persuaders you'd ever read. He's very fun to watch. Now he comes and he says, I don't know if I believe that God did it in 6 days, Okay, that's your business, all right? I just believe the Bible. But everything else that he says shows the God of the Bible, is what he says, is a creative God. All the details, I can't reconcile all of science, but I just believe it. And there are a lot of people like that who, as they look at the evidence, they come more and closer to the Bible. Me, I decide to go all the way. I just believe it all.
I had a thought there recently, you know, where they use weeks for, you know, this period of time, and this next week that is coming is going to be the 7-year period. But what if the day that he referred to was on a similar basis? You know, that it's like a longer period of time, having a 24-hour.
Genesis chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. It's very easy to answer.
All right.
I dare to give in on it.
No, not
Exodus chapter 20.
going to debate this.
The context is here.
Well, context, yes, but a lot of people have tried to say that when God said in 6 days, he meant 6 billion years or something like that, and each day was 1 billion years. But it doesn't work, and I'll show you why. I just take the Bible literally. And so, Bill, if you would read verse 9 to 11.
All right. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
Hold. Are those literal days?
It seems like it.
Okay, I don't want you working 6 billion years and then rest.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6 days work and do all thy work in those 6 days. Verse 10.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou and thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor the cattle, nor the stranger that is within thy gates.
Why? Why shouldn't I work on the 7th day? Verse 11.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth.
How many days?
6
6
days.
billion years, right?
But maybe it's just.
Oh, stop it! So why do I work 6 days and 7 day rest? Because God worked 6 days.
Yeah.
And then it says, and the sea and all that it is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and he hallowed it. He made it holy. He made a day holy because it was that 7th day after creating the universe. In 6 days he had a rest.
It's not just from our.
You can't get around it. God's right and science is wrong. End of story. And we don't like to go there.
Even in Genesis, it says evening and morning. How
Of
can
course.
you make that?
Oh, they just talk that. That's called poetic license, a poetic description. They come to the Bible and they don't understand it, they make it poetry. In evening and morning, it was a beautiful evening. So stop it. He's marking the passage of time. Okay.
That's too bad if somebody actually had the evidence that it was millions of years, but then produced the actual evidence that they have, and the evidence they produce is flawed.
Yeah.
All the radiometric dating, and that is all. Everything's gonna happen.
We're going to do radiometric dating in a moment.
What convinces people though is that so many people apparently believe that this is the way it was, and we have to believe it so.
Well, it's easier. Yeah.
It's I've heard it said about the carbon dating, you know, that if you have something that's in water for a while, it throws it completely.
Distilled water, apparently, changes.
Well, any kind of water, I think,
yeah.
changes the thing. So if the world was flooded, then you had a complete distortion on that whole.
There's a lot to it. So yeah, people don't use carbon dating to find out how old dinosaurs are because it won't work. All right, let's talk about Noah's flood.
Or it will work because there's kind of carbon in the bones. If the date will be too young, and so we can't do that.
When I say it don't work, I mean it don't work for the evolutionists.
Yeah. Okay. Noah's flood, the key to geology. 2 Peter 3:3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the least days scoffers walking after their own.
The last days. I didn't know if you meant that. You said least. I wasn't sure what you were meaning.
Yeah. Saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
Notice everybody's talking about, oh yeah, everything's just staying the same as it's always been since the creation. Interesting. 5.
For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is one day.
Ah, there you are. It says it in the Bible.
Hold on. With the Lord, it's 1,000 years is a day. It doesn't say millions. So you don't have 1,000 years for the dinosaurs to grow and die and be fossilized.
Still, each day is 1,000 years.
No, but he's not saying that it is as 1,000. So to God, time doesn't matter. To me, time matters. All right, so it says there, Gleb, it says, the world that then was, what happened to it? Verse 6.
Yeah, it being overflowed with water.
It perished.
Yeah.
Okay, perished by overflow. We call it a flood. All right, so now we have current world. Okay, our current world is reserved. It's held together until it's until it's judged by fire, not by water. God gave a rainbow to say, I'm never going to flood the earth, but that doesn't mean he's not going to judge it again. So there's going to be a judgment of fire, and we call that the end of the world. In Revelation chapter 20, it says, I saw a new heaven, and there's going to be new heavens and a new earth. So God likes working in threes, doesn't he? So the world that then was, our current world, and there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth out here. And instead of God destroying it by water, he's going to destroy it by fire. So it's all predicted there and all planned out there. So the flood helps us understand why our world looks the way it does. Keep going.
So it tells us that people who scoff at the Bible are willingly ignorant of the creation and the flood. In order to understand science and the Bible, we must not be ignorant of those two great events in Earth's history.
Hey, Declan.
Over 250 flood legends from all parts of the world have been found. Most have striking similarities to the Genesis story of a man building a boat to save his family and the animals.
It's very cute. You should read some of these they're I call them fairy tales, but they're all stories in ancient history describing things. The Chinese have a story, or is it the Japanese? One of them has a story of 8 people on a boat, and they've got 8 floors. I know the Bible says there are 3 floors, but they said 8. I don't know.
One has a round boat.
They're different things. But they're cute. They're funny. But it's like, yeah, but how come they're all talking about 8 people, usually 8, all surviving on a boat, a water flood? B, Bethany?
Noah's Ark was only built to float and safely carry its cargo, not to sail.
Yeah, they're not going on holiday. They're not going to cruise. They're just surviving. C.
So the ark has been proven to be large enough to hold all the required pairs of animals, people and food with room to spare. So that would be 625 feet long, 104 feet wide and 62 feet high.
I haven't converted to meters yet, so sorry, okay?
That's grand. It wasn't until 1850 that someone built another ship that big.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's the one at the moment that they have somewhere in?
That's in Kentucky,
Yeah.
just across from Ohio, and it is to this size. They built a full size. I always want to go see it. It's a full-sized ark.
Wow.
Yep.
And when did they build that?
They finished that like 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Right?
Yeah. We all should just go on a mission trip.
What a mission.
We're coming to win you to Jesus. Where's the ark? Where's the ark?
We'll spend a week touring around it. Yeah.
Oh, we would. Okay. Number D.
It's you.
Bill.
Oh, was it me? All right. God told Noah to bring 2 of each kind, not of each species or variety.
Can you imagine if he brought 2 of every different kind of cat? Oh, that'd be awful. Can you imagine the fights that are in that? Okay, they just brought 2 cats. Okay, go ahead.
Noah only had 2 of the dog kind, which might have only included the wolves, coyote, foxes, etc. The kind grouping is probably closer to our modern family division in
Taxonomy.
taxonomy. This would greatly reduce the number of animals on the ark. Animals have obviously diversified over many varieties in the last 4,500 years since the flood.
Okay.
Noah did not have to go to get the animals. God brought them to him. Genesis 6:20.
This is really helpful. You say, how did Noah and his sons go grab all the animals and get them on the ark? I mean, that'd be very interesting. I would not want to go and grab a tiger by the tail. And if he holler,
Would it be also kids, like, you know, like small, like not adults?
thank you.
Because
You don't have to have mommy and daddy.
they're just
Especially when it came to
In fact,
dinosaurs.
where
Especially when it came to dinosaurs.
Where ostriches are concerned, it could be the snake, couldn't it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how some animals. I think they went and got. It says animals came to them. Eggs didn't roll. You're gonna watch this. Watch this verse. Genesis 6:20.
Okay, so fowls after their kind.
Oh, it's going up.
Egg would roll up the ark.
That's what I'm saying. There was an animal. Verse 20.
Of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind, to you every source shall come unto thee to keep them alive.
They're going to come to you, Noah. So Noah's over by the ark and he's hammering stuff. Then all of a sudden, two lions showed up and he said, "In there." He didn't go after them. They all of a sudden started showing up and lining up. That's God. Okay. Now people say, "Well, that's fairy tale." It's the only way it could have happened. There's no way to go. Did you get the koala bears? I don't know what a koala bear looks like. Well, neither do I. But we're supposed to. It's on the list. No, they didn't have a list. They had to come to Noah to get all the animals. Okay, that's the only way it works. F. Declan.
The mountains, as we have them today, did not exist until during the flood, when the mountains arose and the valley sank down, during the total upheaval of the earth's crust at the time.
Now, we don't want to go to, just for time, let's just finish up with G. Let me just get you to understand. All the mountains that we see now, Everest, did not exist before the flood. How do we know that? Because on the top of Everest, they've dug under the snow, got to get it out, and along the cliff edge, there are mussels and clams and sea-dwelling creatures in the closed position, meaning that something traumatic happened and they all closed under stress and then got pushed up 5 miles into the atmosphere. Whereas before they were at sea level. So that all happened during the flood. Okay, so G?
The water in the oceans right now would cover the earth 8,000 feet deep if the surface of the earth were smooth.
That's very informative. So the sea level, beneath the sea level, you got some things that are 5 miles deep. And you've got some areas where the land is 5 miles up. But if you leveled it all, you'd have 8,000 feet of water. We got a lot of water on the earth. H.
The continents were not fully separated until between 100 to 300 years after the flood. The people and animals that came off the ark had ample time to migrate anywhere on earth by then.
Yeah, you'd be running from some lions too. All right, I. Bill.
Were they moving faster than obviously?
You only need a couple of hundred years to go from Mount Ararat down to Australia before Australia separates, and there's no land bridge there.
So it's kind of
Kangaroos. Well, the earth split, okay, mainly under the flood. But there was the waters had, the ocean had not settled in depth, and the mountains had not risen until 200 to 300 years later when there was a final break of all the continents. So there was no way to get from Ireland to England except by boat.
I saw something somewhere where it was more like something moving about 50 miles an hour. You know.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. That was while the flood was going on under the earth.
Yeah.
But there was what's called land bridges. The Irish Sea is not very deep. Now it's deep, but before the flood, evidently, you could walk from England to Ireland and Ireland to England, and so all of the animals that are here came from Europe and then were cut off.
All right. So
You're I.
The top of Mount Everest from 26,000 to 29,000 feet is made up of sedimentary rock containing fossils of seashells and other ocean-dwelling animals.
J.
Sedimentary rock is found all over the world. Sedimentary rock is laid down only by running water.
Yes. K.
Petrified clams in a closed position, found all over the world, including Mount Everest, testified to their rapid mud burial while they were still alive. Some petrified clams are as large as 6 feet wide.
That's pretty amazing. El?
Bent rock layers, fossil graveyards, and polystrata fossils are best explained by a cataclysmic flood.
A polystrata fossil is like where you are digging and you see all these layers of sedimentary, and there's a tree growing through it all. So how does that happen? It's only because of a flood. And then, Geraldine,
People chose
choose.
to not believe the flood because it was the judgment of God on sin.
We won't read it.
Yeah, which will occur in the future, but then by fire.
Which will also occur. Okay.